basically I'm speeding. I merge and I get over in that right lane, and I just happen to look up in my rearview mirror, and about a half a mile behind me, there's this Cadillac in the left lane. I thought, where did those people just go? Like there's no exit there.
This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide, and we see God. We see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here's where we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome. This is episode 126. You've had those times in your life, right, where you look back and you go, if I hadn't been in that place at that time, it was just crazy how it all worked out, and I married him. One of those things. Or I happened to be in the right place, the right time, and this happened, and that's how I got the job. And you just see certain things happening, and now you can look at it and go, man, that's the hand of God. I don't think that was just a coincidence. I think something was going on there. All right, good deal. Then there's Dan. Dan in our story today. On 3 occasions, he has been in the right place at the right time. And if he's not there, somebody dies. Think about that. Wrap your head around that one. 3 times that he's way over there, miles away, and then suddenly something happens, somebody says something, and I have to go from there, way over there, miles away, and in so doing, he lands in a spot just at the right place at the right time and saves lives. 3 times? That's the story of Dan.
Trapper Jack.
Who is Daniel?
Yes, this is Dan. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. All right, so where are you living?
I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Kalamazoo. Gosh, they do songs about you guys and everything. What are you going to do?
They do, I know, yeah. It's an oldie but a goodie. I still hear about it.
Yeah, there you go. And I forget, how'd you find the podcast?
Oh, actually, I just got an Apple Watch not too long ago, and I've had an iPhone for years. I just never used the podcast portion of it. And then just had this Apple Watch recently and thought, I'm going to start listening to podcasts while I work. And just searched out angels and NDE and that kind of stuff on the podcast search and found yours. And yours is the only one I've listened to so far.
Oh, wow. Well, good deal.
Oh, my God, yeah. All day long. That's all I do. I put it in my wireless earbud in my ear and whistle while I work.
Very good. Well, as you're listening, stuff came to mind, I take.
Oh, yeah. I've never talked about them to anybody before except for my mom. I think maybe my sister might have heard them too. But back in, I want to say 83, my parents divorced and my mom moved down to Florida. It was probably January of 1990. I ended up moving in with my mom, thinking it would be, greener on the other side. So I went down to Florida and lived there for my last half of my 11th grade year, and met a girl when I was down there that I dated in high school. And her parents were Southern Baptist. She was raised Southern Baptist, and I was raised Catholic. My mom's side's Italian and my dad's Polish, so I got Catholic on both sides, and. So she was raised Southern Baptist, real strict parents. And this one day it was winter of 1990, and we were going to go out and hang out and just go cruising around the neighborhood or something. We didn't know what we were going to do because it was like 9 o'clock at night. And we always had to be in by 10, because we were young and it was a school night. And her mom wasn't home at the time, but her dad said, you guys just go out and have fun, stay out as late as you want, and we thought, that's weird. Why would he say that? He's always be in this house by 10 o'clock, So we thought it was odd. And we thought, well, since we don't have to be home at any particular time, let's drive out to the beach. And Jacksonville Beach was about 36 miles from where we were. We were in Mandarin, which was Southside Jacksonville. And so we took a little ride out to the beach, get off the highway, and we get off the highway at A1A, and we're stopped at the traffic light, and it's dark out. And my headlights I'm the first car at the red light exiting the highway, and I'm waiting to turn left onto A1A, which is that north and south road. And suddenly this car drives through the intersection, and my headlights light up the person that's driving it, which it was her father. And I said, that's your dad. And it was like the same car he drove, everything. And we're like, that's weird. Why is he out here looking for us? So we didn't have cell phones back in the day, so we're like, well, shoot, maybe we should just go back home. So we jumped right back on the highway and drove 36 miles back home and walked in the door. It was just after 10 o'clock. And when you walked in their front door, the door immediately to your left was an entry door into the garage. And so we walk in this front foyer, and I noticed the door was open a crack, but there was like no lights on in the house at all. It was dark. And I could hear a car running in the garage, but I knew the garage door was down. So I'm like, what in the world's going on? And I opened the garage. Sure enough, her dad is in his car. He had taken a vacuum hose and connected it from the tailpipe into the back window of the passenger side and sealed up all the rest of the car and had died in the car. Well, we just saw him. He just literally drove by us. So how could he be home dead in the car? So really freaked me out. And I opened up the garage immediately and dragged him out of the car into the driveway, gave him CPR and brought him back to life after, I don't even know how long he had been there because he was blue and gray. And
But you assumed he was dead.
oh, he was definitely.
There was nothing.
There was no heartbeat or anything. Yeah, no, he was definitely gone.
But you thought, I'll try to do this anyway, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it took us a few minutes. It went by pretty fast. And in actuality, it was probably just a few minutes.
So in the meantime, you're calling 911 or whatever at the time, or?
No, actually, back then I didn't even think about it because we were young, and we're outside in the yard, and none of us had a mobile phone, so it's not like we were running back in the house. We were trying to save him more than anything.
Right.
But yeah, he came to, and he instantly was like this shade of red I've never seen before, and he was enraged at me. He was so angry, and chased me down the street, but he couldn't keep up with me because I was pretty youthful. He was probably in his late 40s at the time. And
he was upset. You stopped the plan. You stopped the plan.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was pretty darn scary. I mean, I was hiding behind bushes. It was a neighborhood I was unfamiliar with. So I'm, trying to find places to hide as he's chasing me. But then again, the carbon monoxide that he had just breathed in for I don't know how long, maybe a good hour, because that's how long we were gone. Caused him to not be able to chase me as fast, I guess. Maybe not enough oxygen in his blood to keep him breathing. So
now we're thinking about that car that went through the intersection that looks like him in his car.
Yep, exact same model, same exact red hair and beard, and I mean, it was him. He drove by. We both looked right at each other, me and my girlfriend, and said, "My God, that was your dad. Did you just see that? It was your dad." And why would he be on A1A? Because he would have to get off the highway, and A1A is running north and south. He would have had to been driving east and west like us if he was following, so that just didn't make sense, so how did he just drive past us?
And it made you turn around.
Yeah, immediately. I mean, we literally jumped right back on the highway, turned around because we thought he was out looking for us, and we knew how strict he was. We thought, uh-oh, what if we've done something or he found something out? We better get home, so we ran instantly home, and we didn't even get to go to the beach or nothing, and that was a pretty...
But if you don't turn around, he's dead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He would have been gone a long time because if we wouldn't have noticed that guy, I mean, what were the odds that we even looked at the car, that my headlights were shining right on him, and he was going to be going north, so cars going south would have been blocking him from our view because we were facing east. So there was one lane of traffic, and then he was going north, so it was like... we wouldn't have been able to see him at all if traffic had been going south. And we just happened to see this car go by. Like I say, I know to this day it was an angel or somebody that sent somebody that looked exactly like him or just made that happen. I don't know. I didn't watch the car drive away. I just saw it and said, oh my God, we need to go back home, turned right around, and that's what we did.
Mercy of God. The mercy of God.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, to this day, I've never told anybody outside of my family about it just because suicide's come really close to me in my life. I've had quite a few people in my life tried to commit suicide, some that have committed suicide. And with this guy in particular, he ended up taking his own life about a decade later.
Oh, he did it again. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I want to say it was about 1998, so it was probably only about 8 years later, actually, not a decade, because I moved to Kalamazoo from Detroit in 98.
And God knows, as I say, he watches life on the DVR. He's outside of time. He sees us throughout our lives making whatever decisions. He helps us in whatever way he does along the way. All of these things, so it's not like he doesn't know that's going to be the outcome, but he gave him the opportunity of living the rest of his life, or 8 years, whatever it was at that time.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Wow.
What were those 8? What did he do in those 8 years? I don't know, because I never...
Yeah, you're seeing the hand of God in that. You're seeing a second chance given to the man.
Hmm.
God's mercy is beyond anything that we can imagine. So
Yeah.
we learn not to judge. You don't learn to judge an action like that. But I wonder if in those 8 years, if he didn't do some
Soul
awesomely good
searching.
things too,
Absolutely.
to be in the right place to stop somebody from ending their life. There's so much of it too. I mean, just pray for people in that spot. And I know, and that number goes up the more people leave God, and there's just more
Mm.
and more people leaving God through whether it's through the
Right.
church or through whatever. There's just
Hmm.
more and more people walking away, and that I think there is an obvious correlation between the
Yeah.
two. There's just no question in my mind.
Yeah, I just don't. I can never come to that point in my life to take my own life, because I do respect God too much. I know there's a reason I'm here, and I mean, I have three particular incidents that I want to tell you about, but this is all predestined to me that, this is all happening. I just
Yeah.
don't know that there's any other way that it would happen. Yeah.
But as you say, but you certainly played a role in his life continuing for 8 more years,
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
so how else has God touched you and utilized you?
Well, actually, back on I'll start on December 31st of 2003, New Year's Eve. I went to my best friend Brian and his wife's house for New Year's Eve, and I had to work on New Year's Day, and I worked for State Farm here in Kalamazoo. I was a claim adjuster and had to work New Year's Day, but I decided I'm going to drive an hour from Kalamazoo up to Holland, where they live, and go to their, shindig they're having at their house and spend the night there and just drive home to come to work the next morning. Well, I get there. We have, a few drinks. I wasn't hammered because, of course, I know I got to work in the morning, early. So I'm thinking I'll just have a couple, go to bed right after midnight, get up at 7 a.m. and be down to Kalamazoo at work by 9. Well, I told my best friend, hey, you need to wake me up 7 a.m. because I have to get on the roads, and the roads are always bad in Michigan in the winter. So I'm like, I got to get on the road by at least 7 a.m., get to work, blah, blah, blah. So I go to bed. I wake up the next morning with him panicking, waking me up at 9 a.m., the time I had to be to work. So I literally jump out of bed, grabbed all my stuff, barely could put my clothes on, running down the street to get to my car, which has a foot of snow on it from the snowstorm the night before. And I'm like, oh, great. So I'm cleaning off the car and jump in the car. And he lives way out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, he's in Holland, but it's like country. And I'm heading down this country road, and I'm running stop signs. I could see the stop signs as I was coming up, like the four-way intersection was out in the country, and there was nobody coming in either direction. And I'm doing 70 miles an hour because I'm about probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes from the highway off these country roads. And so basically, I'm speeding on bad roads. Nobody is out. It's like me on the road, and that's it. And I hit to the highway, and I make a right down this highway on ramp onto 131 South, and it's a 2-lane south and 2-lane north highway. And I jump onto that entry, and I go down the ramp, and I'm in the right lane, and I look over my shoulder first, of course, before merging. There's nobody. I merge and I get over in that right lane, and I just happen to look up in my rearview mirror, and about a half a mile behind me, there's this Cadillac in the left lane, and then it kind of veered off to the right lane really quick, and then right where I came on the highway, that entrance ramp, it drove right across the ramp, and we had just missed the guardrail that would have stopped them, but they flew off this cliff into the woods, and I could see the trees that were covered in snow just shaking, and the snow falling really hard because of all the trees that were covered. And I thought, where did those people just go? Like there's no exit there. So immediately I pull over, and I'm probably at least three-quarters of a mile down the highway at that point from where they went off. So I just ran back to them and looked down the cliff, and sure enough, they're like way off in the woods, and their car is destroyed. And I thought, oh my God, these people, and I don't have a cell phone. This is 2004 now, January 1st, and New Year's Day, and there's nobody on the highway. So I got down to the car, I climbed down the cliff, got down to the car, and I'm expecting them to be dead or bloodied really bad. I was kind of afraid to even look, but I got down and I looked in the passenger side, and it was like an elderly couple, And both were knocked out, of course. I got there and I thought, oh God, they're dead. And then they spit out glass, both of them at the same time. And I'm like, oh my God, they're alive. So it's kind of like, whoa. So I said, just hang tight. Are you guys okay? And I ran back up the cliff after I found out they were going to be okay for a minute. There was no fire or any, leaking anything. So I ran back up the cliff and I didn't climb back up the cliff, I guess. Get up to the highway and I'm doing jumping jacks trying to stop somebody. And there's maybe one car every 3 minutes, and that was about it. And nobody's stopping. They're just waving at me as I'm standing on the side of the highway, waving my arms for help. And then about the seventh car that went by, he saw dirt that had strewn across the road from when they went off the roadway, and their back wheels or front wheels must have kicked the dirt across the highway, and that's why he stopped, was because he saw that dirt. And I said, do you have a cell phone? He said, why? What's wrong? And I said, there's a couple just drove off the road into the woods. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm a respiratory therapist. Here's my phone. I'll go down and see if they're okay. So thank
He's a
God.
respiratory therapist. Might need one of those down there. Jeez.
I know.
Wow.
If they're not breathing, I was just like, oh my gosh. And I told them they were conscious when I went down, but of course that was 7 minutes ago, and I'm standing up on the side of the road now. But I got a hold of the police, of course, with his cell phone, and it was probably a few minutes later, the ambulance and police and fire trucks all showed up, and it closed off the highway, of course, because they had to drag the car back up the cliff and get the people up there. And they were able to put them both on body boards, and no major injuries or life-threatening injuries, thank God. But they ended up taking them to the hospital, and the news ended up showing up, and it was on TV. But I'm thinking,
Jeez.
if my best friend did not wake me up 2 hours late, and I did not run every single stop sign and do 15 miles an hour over the speed limit through dangerous roads, I would have never seen those people drive off the road, nor would have anybody else have seen them drive off the road, because there was nobody out.
That would not have ended well.
No, at all. They would have froze to death because it was freezing cold.
There's no way they're crawling up that hill, is there? There's just no way.
No. And they were trapped in the car. They had to use the jaws of life to get the people out of the car.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Yeah. It was pretty mangled. It was a big old Coupe de Ville Cadillac, probably like I would say late 80s or late 90s model, maybe early 2000s. And the couple, they were so sweet. They were driving from Cadillac, Michigan, which was way up by the tip of the upper part of Michigan. And they were driving to Florida for the winter. And I'm like, oh, they only made it about an hour and a half south before they crashed. So I don't know what ended up happening, if they went back to Cadillac or if they went down to Florida. But
What caused the driving off the road?
he fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh, did he tell you that, or you find that out later?
I found that out from the police, actually, at the scene. They asked him what had happened, and he goes, oh, I don't remember. I think I might have fallen asleep at the wheel. I'm like, oh, that poor old man.
But you're right. If all of that doesn't happen, the 2 hours late, running everything, to have them in your rear view mirror and to be, and to be checking your rear view mirror as all of that happened.
Yep.
Otherwise,
what made me even look up? Yeah, I mean, it was snowing too at the time, so it wasn't like I had a clear view out my rear view mirror. I just happened to look and see it all go down, and I was like, what in the world happened? Where did those people go?
But again, you to be aware enough to go, wait a minute, I didn't pass any exit. There's nothing there. And they just shot off over to the right there. Wow.
Poof, right back into the woods. And like I say, those trees were just shaking the snow off because they were impacting all those trees as they were
you've never taken that as just a major coincidence that, well, I just happened to be running late and I just happened to be at that. You don't look at it that way.
No, actually, I look at I'm 47, I'll be 48 in January, and I kind of look at my experiences in life as my destiny to be here. This is the reason I'm here, is because of my girlfriend's suicidal dad that killed himself, that I was able to help him bring back these people, that were traveling to Florida, and coincidentally, nobody would have seen them. They just drove right off the road. But had I not been woken up 2 hours late, I would never have seen it. It was just, to me, it's just all pre-planned destiny, that God has a path, and this path is just pre-laid out. And to me, I've got a mission here, and I don't know exactly what that mission is.
What about, and I know you have one more story, but what just about your relationship with God, with Christ? Where are you in all of that? Maybe because of these happenings.
I was born Catholic, raised Catholic, confirmed into the church and everything, baptized, you name it, confirmation, confession, gone through it all. I believe Jesus is my savior. I believe God is the creator of everything. I mean, every single bit of the universe, our universe, and all the universes around us, he's created it all. But I know it's in my life every day. I know that my kindness to other people is God acting through me. I mean, my neighbors are, I have a little old lady neighbor downstairs. I went down one time to take her something, and she opened up her fridge and there was nothing in it. And I felt so awful. I went upstairs and I emptied out our refrigerator and our cabinets and gave it all to her because she had nothing, and just the things like that I have to constantly do in my life to make myself feel close to God 24/7. I even have on my watch, my Apple Watch, it says "Thank God" every day on my screen, and it's a date that I set in my calendar, so it shows up 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year on my watch.
That's a nice reminder. That's a nice reminder, Dan. That really is. That's beautiful. And as they say, covers a multiple of sins. And it's sometimes we forget that St. Paul said it, and that is love is greater than faith. It's like even if you don't completely understand the God thing, if you love, you're there. You're there, and Jesus will reveal Himself to you along the way. I personally believe, and through all these near-death experiences, sometimes we see Jesus revealing Himself in those near-death experiences. So when they come back, they can go, "Oh, okay, I get this better now." As a Catholic, also we believe in purgatory, and that why can't He reveal Himself to you there? Why not? So I think there's so much more to this, and when it happens, and but you obviously have love in you to have that on your Apple Watch, or to be put in these situations where you care enough,
to do something,
to be in the right place at the right time, and to follow through. It reminds me a little bit of the Dr. John song. I was in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. We're doing just the opposite. The right place, the right time. Dan has one more story. Oh, this out of the blue, just suddenly, job interview. What do you mean now? I have to go now? Job interview coming up in just a moment with Dan. Just a reminder here that at episode 126, we have some links. One of these links goes into Stay Informed. It has to do with this Touched by Heaven universe that we're in. We send out a weekly email, all kinds of things going on in the world, and articles that are kind of interesting in this Touched by Heaven universe we live in. So if you want to sign up for the email, just come here to episode 126, click Stay Informed, and away you go. Also, thank you for your consideration for keeping this all going with Patreon. And thank you so much, Tanya Schultz is helping us out on a monthly basis at Patreon. You can go to patreon.com and look for Trapper Jack, or as I say, once again, episode 126. Just look for the link through to help support what we do. If you feel blessed by these episodes, I certainly hope you do. I hope you're lifted by them. I hope you find them inspiring or fortifying, or maybe just newfound knowledge, whatever you call it. But if it does anything like we were praying that it does, thank you for your support. Now, let's get back to Dan, because, there's job interviews to go to right now. Go.
I was unemployed in early 2014. It was winter, and I was driving to a job interview that I had just gotten called about that day. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, can you be here at 1?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So I hop on the highway, and I'm driving on eastbound 94, which is 4 lanes each direction, 70 miles an hour, very busy highway. It runs from Detroit to Chicago. And I'm running down the highway, and I'm like, "Man, that looks like a person that's on the outside of that fence." And it's one of those barricade fences that goes over an overpass. And as I got closer, I'm like, "Wow, that is a person on the outside." And I'm thinking they are going to jump. And sure enough, they were getting ready to jump. That's the reason they were there. But
so this is an overpass. You're about to go under, and you see a guy on the outside of that fence.
Yep.
Ready to jump onto the highway.
Exactly. Yep. He had climbed around it. And that's when I first saw him. I was probably 2 miles back, and I could just see a figure, because it was daylight, of course, and I was just see a figure on the right side of that bridge, and it looked like he was making his way towards the center of the bridge. And I thought, he's got to be on the bridge itself, just looking down on the highway. Oh, no, he was on the outside, working his way to the center of the highway so he could jump. And just as I got to the bridge, he was right about the center, and I'm on the phone with 911. I'm like, "Did anybody call to report a man that's about to jump off the Oakland Drive Bridge?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "There is a man." And I'm praying out loud in my car, driving down the highway after I had hung up with 911, that I didn't see that man fall in my rearview mirror, and I never did, thank God.
So
I got
you're
to
driving by and again checking your rearview mirror to make sure nothing is going on behind you.
the whole time. I
Oh
couldn't.
my
I'm
gosh.
getting kind of choked up about it, but I couldn't even look forward hardly at all. I was looking in my rear view, thinking, "Don't fall, God, don't let him fall." And I'm like, I was praying, and I got to the job interview and I bombed it so bad because I was so such a mess.
You wait a minute. So you go to the job and you're like you're a mess.
I was bawling. I mean,
You
I
were
was the whole
bawling.
way there and
Oh.
thinking, I was the guy at the interview. I told him what happened, and he had like no sympathy for that at all. He didn't really care why I was there at that point. He's like, "Who are you, basket case?" And so I literally bombed the interview and got right back in my car, and I called the non-emergency line for that police department that I called. The 911 operator answered, and I talked to the dispatcher, and she said they were able to talk him down off the fence and got him to the hospital. And he was thankful that somebody called, but nobody called. And that was like, there's like 100 cars went under that highway bridge, I'm sure, and saw the guy. So why
Yeah.
didn't any of those people call?
Because it was your job. Because it was
Yeah,
your
that's
job.
why I think.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I think because it was like a last minute interview. Hey, and like literally throw your clothes on and get here.
I mean, literally, it was like, can you come right now?
Yep. It was that quick. And I'm like, yeah, I can be there at 1 o'clock. It was like an hour notice probably. And it wasn't far from my house. It was just down the highway a little bit. So I was like, sure, I'll be
But
there. No
again,
problem.
if the call doesn't come in, you're not on that road, and who
Not,
knows? Yeah.
and who knows if anybody would have called 911 because clearly I did and nobody else did. I'm like, I can't believe that all these people are going under this bridge and nobody's called 911.
Yeah. You
I
have to
would have
believe in
stopped my
God. Oh
car.
my gosh.
I would have stopped my car and stopped traffic if he was about to jump. I was already under the bridge and gone by the time I realized, oh my God, he is on the outside of the bridge. And he saved him. That's all. I'd hoped he gets to live a lot longer too. But
You
I
should
don't
be a
know.
trucker. You should be always on the road. It seems to happen for you, Dan, when you're on the road, buddy.
It does. I see things on the road. I experience God sending angels or visions of people I know driving by me. Hey, it's just strangest things have happened to me in my life, and that's why I feel like is my destiny almost over? Am
No,
I
I don't
ready
think
to
that at
go
all. I mean, this
soon?
could go on forever. You don't don't
Yeah,
jump to conclusions here. Don't jump. Don't jump.
yeah,
Don't
right.
jump to conclusions here, Dan. I mean, who
I just
knows?
hope to God that I do have more experiences like this in my life. I mean, that last one was in 2014, so I haven't had anything really major like that happen in quite a while. But that's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah, and the relationships in the day to day. I mean, our relationship with God is in the day to day. You don't need that drama every day to prove that God exists. So He calls us into a relationship through these moments. I'm convinced that He's shooting off the flare gun big time, saying,
yeah,
"Look what
absolutely.
Dan went through."
Yeah, and I just hope to relive those stories and see what happened. I always feel like when I die that I'm going to have a life review that's going to show me how I made people feel directly or indirectly. Maybe I posted something on Facebook that went viral that was amazingly, touching, and everybody around the world was touched by that. That would be cool. But I might have posted something on Facebook that made people really sad or mad, and I'm going to feel that too. That's how I kind of picture my life review is,
Yeah, we
and
had an
that's why.
episode once called "How Do You Make People Feel," and it has to do with when we are in relationship with people, and when we walk away from that conversation, are they feeling better? They feeling worse? They feeling uplifted? They feeling depressed? They feeling angry? What are they feeling? And sometimes we forget. Sometimes we do forget.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, that whatever you put out ripples out into the universe. I mean, I may affect one person, but that one person might tell somebody else, and that person might tell somebody else, and it just keeps going. So you better put out some good energy,
Yeah.
some good, be a good person, and do all you can to help everybody,
Amen.
including yourself.
Yeah. Amen. What do you want to go out on, Dan? Are those your three stories?
Those are my stories so far.
Okay.
If I get any more, if that happens, I will definitely be calling.
Well,
I don't know.
let's close it out with. You want to sum it up here in terms of a message for the day or whatever? How do you want to sum this up today?
I just think that there are angels that come upon us, and we don't know that they're angels. I've heard some of the stories that people have told on your podcast about, being in a wreck or drowning and an angel comes and picks him up out of the water. Or the lady that went down the icy hill and the guy that just nonchalantly walked down that same icy hill that she fell down. It's just, and those are angels to me. I mean, this person that drove by in the car, that was my ex-girlfriend's dad, was an angel or something. I mean, some type of vision. I just think that we need to keep our eyes open for all that in life and love each other, especially in these days.
Amen. Yeah, amen. And I also like to think that couple, if they're still with us, they tell that story a lot. Trust me. There was this angel who came running back. We're not even sure he was real. I think he was an angel. I mean, who knows how they're talking about you? And he comes down the mountain. He comes down the cliff and da da da.
Yeah,
or
I never saw him again after that.
Yeah, one of those things. So. Yeah, one of those things where look out. Or the guy that was on the bridge. He found out somehow somebody called it in. I mean, you're affecting. Their lives are affected too in the reverse way. They're telling those stories too. At least some of them are. So
yeah, it's all good. How did it affect the families of those that were, like the kids of the old couple, or maybe the mom and the dad of the kid that was on the side of the bridge that was going to jump? How did it affect all those families? It's a big chain reaction in life. That's for sure. Everything.
Amen. Well, God bless you, Dan. Thank you so much. When you get another story, be sure to let us know.
Oh, Trevor, I will. I listen to yours all the time. I definitely will.
Thanks, Dan. Wow, 3 times. Think about that. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Of 3 times, I'm over there, and I'm called to be over here, miles away, and in the process, that happens. Stay on the road, Dan. You're doing good. You're doing good work out there. 3 times, and on a couple of those, I mean, to be in the right place to stop somebody from ending their life. God's supposed to have final say. It's not supposed to be us. And he's just obviously a big exclamation mark on that in today's episode as well. Just keep praying for one another. We are never going to run out of things to pray for. Right now, when we look around, whoa, yes, there's COVID. And boy, out on the West, fires like never before. And then you look someplace else and there's flooding going on over here. And then, like I mentioned, you hear about the suicide rate going up. And there's a lot of pain. And remember, prayer moves the hand of God, and he wants us to move his hand with prayer. Again, rosary, what did Mary call it? Every time she says, pray the rosary every day, it's your greatest spiritual weapon. Do you think there's a little evil in the world right now? Do you think? We're the antidote for the evil that is in this world. Let's just keep praying, okay? All right. Thanks again for your stories, Dan. Thank you so much. I need your story. What is it? Touchedbyheaven.net. And here also is the place to click the Stay Informed link. And if you'd be so kind, the Patreon link as well for keeping it all going. Thank you so much. And thanks for keeping us a 5-star podcast. That's awesome as well by leaving your ratings and reviews. I'll see you next week here at Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.